Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, and as many of you know, I do some work for the HBAR Foundation. Hedera NFTs have been red hot, and today we have Dante Alston, the founder and CEO of Hashaxis, who's at the center of it all. Welcome, Dante.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, Dante, to get this thing kicked off, can you just give us a general overview of what Hashaxis is?
Yeah, so Hashaxis is an open Hedera NFT marketplace. So anyone can come on there with no technical background or technical knowledge and mint an NFT. We support JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, MP4s, and even certain 3D files. And so as long as you have your file, you can just use our UI and upload and mint to the Hedera network and make a green, eco-friendly NFT. And then as a marketplace, we can facilitate you selling that NFT, and then anyone who purchases it can resell. So we're really just an open marketplace for anyone to come on there and use it.
I got you. It sounds pretty easy to use. So, how did you personally get involved in this space in the first place?
Yeah, so my background is in tech, obviously, but also in music. I'm actually the chief operating officer at another company called Blank Square Productions. So that gave us a little bit of insight into the music business, the entertainment industry, the differences in the way royalties are managed and paid. And I felt like with music in particular, the current way that royalties are managed was just very frustrating to me. You don't get full transparency into how the money is flowing. The actual payments and distribution typically take 90 days. So you're looking at a 90-day settlement. If someone streams your piece of music today, you won't actually get the results of that for 3 months later. So it was all just a very painful process. And that put me into the blockchain space because I felt like, well, okay, NFTs are giving really unique royalty management opportunities, and I wanted to explore that more. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you quickly realize, okay, not all blockchains are creating a little bit of in this process. There's a lot of waste depending on which chain you're on, as far as first energy waste and maybe even financial waste if you're paying gas fees.
Sure.
And so ultimately, after filtering through all of that, you land on Hedera, which solves for all those problems, right? It solves for efficiency as far as gas fees. It solves for the eco concerns that brands may have about being environmentally friendly, and that all of us have, frankly. And it solves for speed and security. So that was sort of why I sort of became a Hedera advocate and fell in love with it, so to speak. And then I wanted to, start off with, okay, well, how can I get involved with this? And there was no NFT marketplace at the time. So I felt like that was a great place to start. And that was a service that I could provide to the community.
Sure, I gotcha. So, what about the rest of the Hashaxis team? Who do you have on your crew?
Yeah, so I have Jonathan Alston. He's a commander in the Navy. He serves as my chief information security officer. I also have Jackie McKayo. She's heading up marketing. And obviously I have the dev team and support team who are part-time right now. And I also have my partner, Edgar Estevez, who is the CEO of that other company, Blank Square Productions. And at Blank Square, he works with larger conglomerates like record labels, Warner, Sony, UMG, the big labels. And so the overarching plan is sort of to tie in some of the work he's doing and bring the mainstream audience into the NFT community. Because a lot of the community right now is very crypto native, right? There were people who were already playing with crypto, they're early adopters. But ultimately, we want to get this technology out to mainstream so that artists and creators can take advantage of this and get a little bit more money in their pocket than they might through the traditional label routes.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So let's get into the NFTs themselves. What are some of the most popular NFT collections on Hashaxis?
Yeah, so we actually import, even if you didn't mint your NFTs on Hashaxis, we can import the token ID and it still be compatible because we're all running on Hedera.
Sure.
So, the popular NFTs on Hashaxis end up being some of the most popular NFT collections in the community as a whole. Without dropping too many names, what I can say is that people tend to like collections that have a good community. That's pretty standard for NFTs. And they also like collections that have unique art. So we found that sort of the generative art, where it's sort of just spit in, certain attributes and spin them up and combine them in different ways. That's actually, there is a group that likes that, but you tend to get a higher appreciation for the NFT when you're creating something unique, right? So if you're some sort of one-of-one artist, that's sort of where we see sort of higher ticket value being assigned to one-of-one art, and people who can demonstrate that they also created that art as a physical piece. So if you were not just a digital artist, but perhaps a physical artist using a medium such as, painting or sculpting, people are really excited when they can see there is a real world, products behind the NFT that you've made. And this is really exciting because artists historically have been sort of disenfranchised. You hear the story about starving artists where maybe you're a painter and someone comes along and says, I like your painting, I'll buy it for $1,000. And then it ends up in the hands of a collector, and the collector sells it to an art gallery for $10,000. And then the art gallery marks it up and sells it for $100,000. And the original artist is sitting there like, oh man, they're selling my painting for $100,000. That's great, but I'm not going to see any of the money.
Sure. That's where the royalties come in, right?
Right. NFTs are really going to change that narrative and perhaps enable people who were phenomenal artists, but didn't see a career path or didn't see a way to make that financially sustainable. They're going to be able to make their art. Perhaps you'll get the physical version along with the NFT, but also you will be sustaining their career. And we're really in support of that.
So Dante, do you have any experience with other networks? And, can you elaborate a little bit more on what made you land on Hedera?
Yeah, so working with brands, they are very sensitive to the eco footprint that they're going to leave, and their customers are very sensitive to this too. So that's one of the first things they ask. Is this bad for the environment in any way? Because we heard Bitcoin and Ethereum is really bad for the environment. So being able to say, no, the network is carbon neutral by default, and actually they go a step further. They go out and purchase carbon credits to make the network carbon negative, is very attractive when you're working with brands. And then my personal concern was gas fees, right? Because at the consumer level, you want to make sure that if you're doing a transaction worth $100, you're not paying $20 in fees, because that sort of defeats the entire purpose of this, get out of the banking system movements, basically. So the fees were quite attractive. And when you're trying to build on something, you want those fees to be predictable. You don't want them to be, because there's network congestion, now you're paying 20 times more to do the same transaction.
Sure.
So the fixed and predictable fees of Hedera are very attractive from a business standpoint when you're looking to build on something. Speed, of course, the 2.6 seconds to transaction finality is very, very attractive. Even Visa doesn't settle your transactions that quickly. On the back end, there's actually a month's worth of settlement that occurs, in weeks, even with wires. So all of that was very attractive. And that brings me to, okay, is this really decentralized and is it really secure? There was always this dark cloud over Hedera of like, oh, there are these overlords of, certain companies who are, is it privately owned? Is it IP that's only owned by the inventor, Limon Baird? And them voting to open source Hedera was a big step in, clearing that cloud and dispelling that myth. And pretty soon people will be running their own mirror nodes. So decentralization is here to stay for Hedera. You don't have to worry about these corporations sort of clawing back any of this technology. It's already out there. It's already going to be open sourced. So all of those things combined, ABFT for the security aspect, I didn't see any other chain or hash graph or any other distributed ledger technology at all with that level of security. So it's just a unique combination, and there's nothing else like it on the market that I was able to find. So, as a developer, that was the obvious choice for me. And I think the general consumer as they educate themselves and go deeper down the rabbit hole, they will come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, I think that's something that, when Manson, Lehman, the original founders of Hedera, when they say things, they actually mean it. So in this context, when they say they're going on a path down toward decentralization, they actually mean it. Or, if we're looking at the maintenance windows getting shorter, or last year, the finality on the transactions had creeped up to about 7 seconds, which coincidentally is what Visa tries to hit. But he said it's going to come down, and just a couple months later, it dropped back down to between 4 and 5 seconds, and that's where we sit today. But yeah, again, when they say they're going to do something, when Hedera says they're going to do something, they actually mean it.
Absolutely.
All right, so we love the art that's being created for the Hedera NFT space, but you're building infrastructure that will take NFTs to the next level. What do you think comes next in the Hedera NFT space?
Yeah, so art was sort of a low hanging fruit, because it was just sort of, okay, this is accessible. We can really quickly mint this file and have it be, a proof of concept as far as what an NFT can do, what it can be, a proof of digital ownership, right? But eventually, art will probably not be the primary use case for NFTs. We were talking with ticketing partners who are interested in managing their ticketing this way. As you know, there are organizations such as shopping organizations that are building out their coupon infrastructure on NFTs. There are unique membership use cases where you're going to get this NFT and it's going to grant you certain permissions, and maybe it's your gym membership or some other type of membership structure. So I think we have art NFTs that sort of have this like utility as a secondary aspect of it, but I think there's going to be a shift to a primary utility for NFTs, and hopefully as the market matures, there are a lot of agreements and contracts that can be totally replaced with smart contracts. We would need the legislation to catch up in order to fully facilitate that. Legislation would need to catch up in order for smart contracts to replace traditional contracts in any sense, because you still need to be able to arbitrate certain things and settle and make agreements. But ultimately, NFTs are trending towards utility first and art second. So that's going to be a shift that flips the current industry on its head. But the way you do that is through bringing in more brands and showing them the benefits. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right, so Hashaxis has executed so well to this point. What new features or partnerships does Hashaxis have in the works?
Sure. So some of the features that we have recently rolled out, secret memos are very cool. Secret memos allow you to make sure that you get your NFT to the exact person that you want to have it, because no one can purchase the NFT without the secret memo. We also have this feature called gateways that operates at the collection level. So gateways allow you basically to token gate a piece of content so that anyone who possesses one of your NFTs from your collection can access this piece of content. So that's like on-site token gating, basically. We will also be rolling out support for calculating trait rarity right on the marketplace. We know that people are very interested in traits and figuring out how rare their NFT is. Obviously that won't be applicable to all NFTs, but if the creator applied traits to their NFT, we'll be able to calculate that right on the market. And then as far as partnerships, so many of them are always under NDA, and you
Sure.
can't say too much. But what I can say is we have some very serious artists who are strongly considering making NFTs available to their fans, and they have very large fan bases. So that will sort of swing open the door to the mass market and the non-crypto native to start coming into these communities and learning about how all this works.
Oh, fantastic. That's exciting. So, what do you think Hedera NFT Marketplaces will look like, in a few years from now?
Yeah, so I think in addition to the current art NFTs that you see there, there will be more robust products that you're able to trade. If you look across the pond to what they're able to do currently with Ethereum contracts, there's been entire real estate transactions that have happened based upon an Ethereum smart contract. And so there's actually, nothing preventing such a mechanism from being deployed on Hedera. It's just a matter of, the marketplace is maturing and the consumers maturing as well in their knowledge of what's possible. But yeah, this won't be just a trading art back and forth situation. It will be something that's quite robust and that facilitates a lot of different asset management beyond just digital IP.
Yeah, well, with the infrastructure you're building and Toko's building and all the other companies that are building in this space, I think it's going to get really interesting in the years to come. Dante, this has been a blast. Do you have any final thoughts before we let you go?
I'm just so happy to do this, and I think it'll be very revolutionary for artists. As an artist myself, I was always torn between the balance between what's best for yourself as a professional, a career-driven individual, and what's best for yourself as an artist. So the ability to give so many people to blend these two paths together and make a living from it. There have been some artists who wrote to me saying, I'm from this country and I was able to do this amount of NFT sales, and that was my salary for the year. And so now I can focus in fully on my art. And I love those types of stories, and I'm trying to make that the reality for as many artists as possible.
Oh, that's exciting. So right now, if users want to be able to contact you and use your service and everything else, how would they go about it?
Yeah, so you can reach out on hashaxis.com. We actually have a live chat that is at the bottom left of the website if you want to send us a message. We're also on Twitter at Hashaxis, on Instagram as well at Hashaxis. And if you want to reach me personally, you can email Dante at hashaxis.com.
All right. Again, Dante, thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you.